In a time long forgotten, before the rise of empires, there stood a kingdom feared by many and respected by all. The Kingdom of Ojo, the land of warriors, where strength was earned and survival was a way of life. Their arrows never missed, their hunters never failed, and their enemies never returned. At the center of this great kingdom stood a king, a ruler who had lived for over 100 years, a man of power, wisdom, and mystery. They said the spirits guided him. They said no enemy could defeat him. Under his rule, the Kingdom of Ojo stood unshaken. The land prospered. The people lived in peace, and no rival dared challenge them. But even legends cannot escape time. And one night, as the palace grew quiet, the king lay still, his strength slowly fading. The air was heavy. The fire burned low. Elders stood around him, watching in silence. His breathing slowed, weaker with every moment, until finally, the great king took his last breath. No sound. No warning. Just silence. And in that silence, the future of Ojo changed forever. By morning, the news had spread across the kingdom. The king was dead. The drums that once called warriors to battle now echoed with sorrow. Villagers wept. Warriors lowered their weapons. And fear slowly began to grow. Because in Ojo, an empty throne was more dangerous than any enemy. The elders gathered, men of wisdom and age. They knew one truth: choosing the next king would decide everything. If they chose wrong, the kingdom would fall. If they delayed, chaos would rise. So they made a decision, one that would test not just strength, but the soul of a man. 20 trials. Deadly. Unforgiving. Impossible. Trials of strength, of survival, of intelligence, and of spirit. Only one would survive them all, and only that man would become king. The announcement spread quickly, and the strongest warriors stepped forward. Men who had never known defeat, men feared across the land. They stepped into the trials with confidence. The first entered the forest, strong and fearless. But the forest was not kind. Traps hidden beneath. Another warrior stepped forward, stronger, faster, more prepared. These were the greatest warriors of Ojo, men who had never lost. And yet, they could not survive the trials. Whispers spread across the kingdom. What if no one succeeds? What if there is no king? Hope began to fade, and fear returned. And then, when all hope seemed lost, a boy stepped forward. Not a warrior, not a prince, just a boy, known for trouble. A boy the village had rejected, mocked, and ignored. The crowd laughed. This one, he will not last a moment. But the boy said nothing. Because while they saw a criminal, he carried something else. Experience. Pain. Survival. He had already faced hardship, far greater than any trial. And so, he stepped forward. He entered the forest, not with pride, but with awareness. He listened to the wind, to the leaves, to the silence. Where others rushed, he waited. Where others fought, he adapted. Where others feared, he understood. The forest tested him, but it did not defeat him. One trial passed, then another, then another. Days turned into struggle, and struggle turned into strength. Even the elders began to watch him closely. Because something had changed. The boy was not just surviving. He was learning, growing, becoming. And then, the final trial arrived. The one no man had ever completed. The entire kingdom gathered. No laughter now. No mockery. Only silence. Because now, they understood. This boy was different. He stepped forward, alone, facing destiny. The trial pushed him beyond his limits. His strength failed him. His body weakened. His breath grew heavy. Every step felt like the last. And for a moment, it seemed he would fall. But then, he remembered the hunger, the pain, the rejection, everything that shaped him. And instead of breaking, he rose. With one final push, he did the impossible. He completed the trial. Silence filled the air. No one spoke. No one moved. Because what they had seen should not have been possible. The elders stood, not in doubt, but in respect. For the first time, they did not see a criminal. They saw a king. The crown was brought forward, heavy, sacred. The boy knelt, and the crown was placed upon his head. The boy they once rejected now ruled them all. And under his leadership, the kingdom did not fall. It rose, stronger, wiser, unbreakable. Because greatness is not born, it is made. And though peace returned, and the kingdom stood tall once more, beyond the mountains, beyond the lands they knew, something was coming. Something that would test not just a king, but a legend. And this time, the trials would not be chosen. They would begin.